Hi, and welcome to the Round Table. This episode is going to be about Vampire Diaries. I am Allison Giordano, and I'm here with...
Rachel Martessian.
And Alex Chase.
So today we're discussing the Vampire Diaries, which is on the network The CW. And this show is now currently on its 7th season, and it's starring Nina Dobrev, Ian Somerhalder, and Paul Wesley. So without further ado, we're going to begin. So you guys haven't read the books, right?
No.
Well, I read the books, and there's really no similarities between the book and the TV show besides the characters. And even then, that's very circumstantial. So, with that being said, when did you start watching Vampire Diaries?
A few months ago.
Just a few months ago?
Yep.
What do you think so far?
I think it's good. It's getting intense and confusing, but...
So you started before that. When did you start?
Like November.
November?
Yeah.
That's okay. I started watching in its 3rd season, and then I watched them all on Netflix, and I caught up on Hulu, and then I tried really hard to keep up watching it when it was on TV. So, we're going to start by talking about Elena. She is the main character. She is interesting. So what's your opinion on her?
I don't like her that much. Or at all, basically. It kind of annoys me.
What do you think?
I think she gets into everyone's business. Even when she should take a step back and take a chill pill.
Yeah. She's not very relatable either.
Her life's kind of too perfect.
Mm-hmm. Even
But
though,
also
like,
not.
it sounds bad because, like, both her parents are dead, but, like, everything happens to
Everything
her in a
else
very,
goes
like,
right.
fairy tale kind of way.
I think they mention that too much.
Yeah.
It makes me less sympathetic.
No,
Okay,
it makes
that
sense, though, because...
It sounds mean, but...
No, I know Amy. They just talk
Terrible.
about it way too much. So, speaking of Elena, she has a love triangle with 2 brothers, actually, starting with Stefan. That's that one. So what do you think of her and Stefan's relationship?
Do you want to go again?
I think it's complicated. Well, I'm at the part right now where Stefan and Elena are currently not together. So right now I think it's kind of complicated, but before I thought they were cute to an extent.
Almost, like, too cute.
Yeah,
Yeah.
almost like, too
sappy.
fake.
Yeah.
You kind of get annoyed. There's like the couple in the hallway you see, you just want to barf a little bit.
I feel that. But then they eventually break up, and then she starts dating Damon, which is that one, the hotter one. So what do you think of their relationship?
Definitely more crazy, for sure, because he's a nut job.
Mm.
But I think they're cuter together, because they're not as like sappy, like they have their issues that kind of make it more relatable, I guess.
Yeah, definitely more real. Are you there yet?
I'm like right at that point.
Well, you know who he is as a person.
Oh, I know
though,
who
so
he
you can
is,
kinda
yeah.
guess.
And you've seen them, like, be all flirty, right?
Oh yeah, they're very flirty.
Sorry about that.
They're intense too. I think.
I feel that. So, do you think that the love triangle between Elena and the 2 brothers is, like, the entirety of the show, or is there other things that happen in the show that make it enjoyable?
I mean, there's other things that happen, but I think that they don't focus on them enough. Like, because there's Caroline and all her, like, love issues that she has going on, but, like, you only kind of see them every now and then. Like, they're not in every episode. So I think if they were to be, then it wouldn't be so centered on Elena and her issues, but that is kind of the point of the show, so I don't know.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So speaking about all the other stuff that goes on, there is a lot of different, I want to say villains, but it's not really villains, it's more like conflicts that arrive. Like, we have doppelgangers, the original vampires, hybrid werewolf vampires, parallel universes,
Yeah.
and
Witches.
witches. Oh, I totally forgot about that. So do you think, like, what do you think of these conflicts? Are they too much?
They definitely threw a lot in there.
Yeah,
But
it
I
gets a
don't
little
think...
confusing.
I mean, it gets confusing, but I don't think it's in a way that they can't bring it back.
Mhm.
Like, I feel like at the end of a season or at the end of an episode, you always end up understanding or, like, relating things back to each other. So I think it's kind of cool, but they definitely, I think, overdid it with the amount of creatures they put in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, different aspects they took on that one.
I think the hybrid idea is kind of interesting though, because I hadn't seen
most
that
of the
before.
ideas are interesting.
It's just they're all.
It's like every season there's one big like supernatural
Reveal
thing,
kind of thing.
that kind of I don't say ruins the show, but like makes everything very difficult for them.
Yeah.
So who is your favorite villain? Do you have a favorite yet?
Villain. I kind of like. I wouldn't know if you would consider him a villain, but I like Elijah.
I'd say like
Because he
Elijah's
kind of
crazy
like
and
him,
ruins things a lot.
Yeah,
so
I like him
I think
because
it's
he's
good
definitely
enough.
got his dark side, but then he's also kind of got morals. So it's one of those things where like you kind of don't know what he's gonna do, and I think that is interesting. Like with Klaus, you kind of just always assume he's gonna do the bad thing, which he does.
Yeah.
So it's like it gets.
Nick Klaus is definitely my favorite villain.
Yeah. It's interesting.
What about you?
I would think. I'm really thinking this one through. This is why I needed the question. Name some off for me.
Catherine.
Oh.
Actually,
I don't like Catherine.
I kind of liked how she just came in and ruined everything because she wanted to and left. Like, I respect that.
It just confuses me because I know that it's the same character, but the one's got the curly hair and then the one's got the straight hair, and I just can't keep up with it sometimes.
I kind of find it amusing how she just kind of like with Elena's life by pretending to be her. Like that just makes
That
me
would kind
laugh.
of be awesome though.
To be
Like,
able-
what if I had someone like that?
I really liked the idea of the doppelgangers too, because even though like it got complicated later, when it first started, it was literally just that there was an identical twin of her who lived a lot longer and was just terrible to person.
It seems that every doppelganger is also a terrible person.
Yeah. I feel like it has
I
to
don't
be good
want
and
to
a
spoil
bad.
anything for her, but like I don't know what
It's
she
okay,
has.
you can.
Because like Stefan has one, you find out later. And
Does he really?
Yeah,
Mhm.
and
he's so bad.
He's
Oh my god,
the worst. Like everyone's afraid of him. His name's
that's
Silas.
awesome.
He's really
Wait, what
scary.
season's that? I
And
haven't
that's when the whole
I don't know
parallel
if-
universes comes into
Yeah.
play too. When the things
see
cross
that.
over, it just gets really complicated.
That's really when it does get complicated, when Silas comes into all of it. That just kind of makes things a mess. Because he's a witch, vampire, too powerful thing that you don't really know.
So probably our last point that we're going to talk about is, do you guys think that the show is going to suffer now that Elena is leaving in the 7th season? Well, she's currently gone in the 7th season.
Well, I've watched some of the episodes, and it's not like I wouldn't watch it still, but there's definitely a lot of things that kind of get lost now that like that love triangle is kind of gone, because like Damon doesn't really like half of the reason why he's in the show is gone basically.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can see that. She was like kind of the
She's like the main
the
character.
main character, and everyone
her
else.
life story,
Without her,
basically.
everything else is kind of
That's what the name,
bits
like,
and pieces.
they don't talk about it much in the TV show, but it's the Vampire Diaries because she like religiously kept diaries after her parents' death.
Yeah.
And then vampires happened to her, so yeah, I definitely think though that it's hard to continue a show without the main character. Like there is other events that could happen, and I think there is enough of a following that continue, but I think it's the end of an era. Alright, so before we wrap up, we actually talked about this in our last episode, the Teen Wolf episode. There was a comparison to Twilight. So how would you guys compare Vampire Diaries to Twilight?
Well, I'm actually not that big of a fan of Twilight. That's
I'm
why
definitely not a big fan of Twilight.
I don't think anyone's a fan of Twilight after
That's
like
why-
the 8th grade.
That's why I didn't think I would like Vampire Diaries until I started watching it.
So why do you like Vampire Diaries and not Twilight?
An explanation
Stewart's
for
not
that
the
one.
actress.
Well, you can...
Yeah, I think
No chill.
I think Twilight is kind of. I don't know how to describe it. Get back to me.
Alright. I mean, I'm really into the whole fantasy, especially like the supernatural creature, like genre. So every vampire TV show, I'll be like, oh no, it has nothing to do with Twilight. So
I mean, if you go by book, like I haven't read the Vampire Diaries, but Twilight was just a really like not well written
So bad.
series. So
there's
I
so
don't
many
really
typos.
think. Yeah, but like
so many typos.
even the plot is just not that great. So
It's
if you
not.
try and put that into a
It's
movie,
actually,
it's not.
the plot is literally directly from the Vampire Diaries. Like,
Yeah.
that's the basis. I could spend
But,
another 15 minutes
like,
just talking about that.
I feel like that's half the reason why Twilight didn't work out well, is because the book was so terribly written.
So, do you have any final thoughts on Vampire Diaries before we go?
I mean, it's a great show.
It's
I'll
great.
probably
It is a great
try
show.
and watch the next season, but
I just have to catch up and finish.
You're almost there.
No, I'm only on season 3, episode 12.
the fact that there's 22 episodes in this season is pretty rough, though.
Yeah.
I know, that's why it's
pretty
taken me forever.
So it is a really good show, but I think it's
Long.
time for it to end nicely before we all hate it.
Yeah.
All right, well, join us next time for our next episode of The Round Table. This was The Round Table on Vampire Diaries.